YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. This is going to be a video just discussing everything that I personally liked about the Power Rangers 2017 movie. This is inspired by us having the 5th anniversary for it a little while back, and I did a video discussing on like the history of it, of what went wrong, and kind of dissecting it. Not long after that, I rewatched it and remembered how much I personally like this movie, because I really did like this movie and I wanted to highlight the positive things about it. And also, I recorded this video like not long after I rewatched it, and then it got accidentally deleted. So I'm re-recording it and it's got super delayed. So I just thought that was a fun fact about this video. Classic me. Before we get started though, I want to remind you guys to like this video if you enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe button and that bell button to get notifications for more videos like this and more. Let's go ahead and get started for everything that I liked about this movie. Let's start with the lore. I really like what they did with the lore in this movie. Honestly, in a lot of ways I'm disappointed and surprised that it didn't do well, because I thought they kind of had the perfect take on what to do with the lore. They kind of used the framework for mmpr, a lot of the familiarity with the characters and the names, and a lot about it in general, but they also made their own spin on it. So it wasn't just like they were retelling it, it didn't feel like a rehash. And when it comes to reboots and stuff, I'm a bit of a weirdo. Most people seem to be very resistant to them. I usually like to see what people's takes are on the mythology, and I really liked their take on the mythology. The idea of Rita being the Green Ranger was cool as hell, and I think it opened up a lot of possibility for the future of Rita's character and the future of the Green Ranger story, not to mention just being a cool idea. Same thing goes for Zordon being the original Red Ranger, stuff like getting to see the original Alien Rangers, like, you know, the Rangers that were aliens, not the Alien Rangers that were, because there are actual Alien Rangers, like not fish people. Not fish ninjas. There's a lot of cool background lore that used the framework of mmpr that we know, but made it different. I even liked little details like explaining that the Zords were dinosaurs because they take the form of the most powerful creatures on the planet at the moment. That was really cool. I really loved what they did with the lore of this movie, and they laid down stuff for later too, like with the Zeo crystal and stuff like that. I think they did a good job with the grid too, and I'm so curious what they would have done in the future. Like, I really like this take on the lore, and I would have been really excited to see how they explored it in subsequent movies if we were to get into Zeo territory and stuff, because it was a really cool twist on it, and I really like the groundwork they laid down, not just for mmpr, but for the future. I also have to be honest, I know they're not everyone's favorite, and they're not exactly my top 10, but I kind of like the designs. Again, not my favorite, but I like what they were going for with this sort of alien armor feel, since they kind of, I feel, emphasized the alien nature of the Power Rangers in this world. And I thought it really worked, and I like what they did with it, not just feeling alien, but they also were new. Again, they kind of represented what they did with the mythology, where it was familiar, but it was also its own thing. Like, they had a couple visual cues that were similar to the show. I mean, they didn't use the morpher, but they kind of had the buckle and then the little diamond on the chest, and Red's helmet had some visual cues that tied back to mmpr Red. But for the most part, they were their own thing, and I dug it. And I didn't mind the Megazord, but I actually really liked the individual Zords. I liked the alien dinosaur hybrid feel of it all. I would have liked to seen what designs they came up with in the future for like the White Ranger, or if we ever got to Zeo or anything like that. Also, maybe a bit of a hot take, but I really like that they focused on character and story over action. Like, don't get me wrong, I like me some good action, but I really like the way that they actually had the power crystals to build up to this, and to actually build the characters' bond and dynamic, and build the mythology, and make it feel satisfying when they finally morph, and likely setting it up for more action in a second or third movie now that you've laid the groundwork. And I've mentioned this before, but especially at the time, and even now to a degree, you know, the main show was severely lacking in substance and content and anything. And so the attention to actual substance and character and story was extra appreciated. But even revisiting it now, I like it for what it is. I like the attention to the character and the substance, but then, like, my appreciation was like twofold, because we were lacking substance, and all of a sudden there was all this content where it was lacking, and I really appreciated it. But I like that they did that. That's not something you see usually in this franchise or genre, where the priority is kind of selling toys, bright colors, and explosions. And I see a lot of potential with the universe and the lore of this franchise that I think the comics are taking advantage of. But I really liked seeing them do that with this, and I think it made me more invested in the movie, and I like that they took their time. And I think not just for Power Rangers, but that's something that's not always done nowadays, and I really appreciated that personally. And speaking of attention to the characters, I really liked the characters in this movie. Like, some characters got more focus than others. Like, I would argue, not argue, but it's almost a fact, Jason and Billy got the most focus. But I feel like we got a good taste of everybody, and I feel like I got a good feeling for their personalities and what their individual struggle was. And I like that they were flawed characters. You know, that was something else that was especially lacking in the Neo Saban era, where everyone is like a goody two-shoes mannequin that feels like a spell made a mannequin come to life. They're like, we donate to charity. That's the character. And that's why I like the Disney era so much, because they feel like normal, flawed human beings. And ever since I was little, I've always found it to be more inspiring and easier to get invested in when you have characters that feel real, and if they're flawed, or maybe even not bad, but flawed, and then they do the right thing and get better. I find that more inspiring than somebody that's like a mannequin that just tells you always that they're donating to charity and that they're a good person, that it's almost like not a real human being. And I appreciated that these characters felt like real human beings, and I liked the investment in their individual stories and how they came together as a group. And I liked that focus on the idea that in order to fully access the powers, they had to have this synergy between them. It was a little bit cheesy. Power Rangers always has cheesy, but I thought it wasn't stupid cheesy. I thought it worked in the sense of the plot, and it made the sort of team aspect and the teamwork aspect of Power Rangers make sense, and it gave a good reason to get to know the characters as individuals in a group, and I really felt like I felt the bond between them, and I started to feel the bond between them, and I think they handled that really well. And I think the team and camaraderie aspect of Power Rangers is a huge part of it, and I think they nailed that in a different way than we're used to, but in a way that also felt right with it. And I think Billy especially really worked as the heart of this movie. I really liked his character. I thought that was really successful for me with that, and bringing everyone together around him with his death before that happened. I think that really worked, and I think they really nailed the character aspect of that. And I think that brings it around to what I like about the movie overall, kind of encompassing all the points, which kind of surprises me because it does feel different from the show. And I like that. I guess you can consider that another positive, is I wanted it to be different in feel from the show, both in terms of content and style. But what surprises me about it is it hits a lot of the things that personally I like about Power Rangers while feeling different. Like it's hard to describe. It's like felt different, but it was like the same things. Like the focus on the character development and the bond between the characters and the lore. It all felt very different, but it was also very much what I like about Power Rangers. And I think that's what it comes down to with this movie, because this movie is, I don't know, is it controversial? I don't know. I feel like it's almost split down the middle. I see people that love and hate it, and it really depends on what you like about it, and that's personal to you. Like, for me, it personally hit on what I like about Power Rangers, but it might not have hit that for you. That doesn't mean either one of us is wrong. It's just about what Power Rangers is to you. And a lot of this movie hit on what Power Rangers is to me, and yet it felt different and new. And I think it's really underappreciated, and I'll just reiterate too, I'm really sad we'll never see the continuation of this, because I think it had immense potential. I would love to get it. I know the Aftershock comic exists, but it would be really cool to see a comic series that further explored what the lore would have been like for this down the road. Honestly, I want to find or get some interviews with the right people that would know what the plans were, because I'm really curious. Like, they probably didn't have it all laid out, but I bet they had some idea. I want to know what you guys personally liked about this movie. Let me know in the comments what your favorite things about the Power Rangers 2017 movie were. What kind of things would you like to have seen in the future? Would be it the White Ranger or Green Ranger or Zeo? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.